I've got it.
Great, thank you so much. So welcome everybody. My name is Sue Grinnell and I'm with the Public Health Institute, and I see some familiar faces and some new folks that are joining us. So welcome. I'm very excited about today. And before we get started, we have a question here that we'd like for you to put into the chat box. We like to use the chat box as much as possible for anything that you're reflecting upon, questions, comments, anything like that. Of course, if you need any help as well. So if you can name one thing you want to do better with your network communications tomorrow, so not in 5 weeks, but tomorrow. Think about that and just take a moment and put it into the chat box.
And welcome, Kimberly. You got your camera working? Can you talk?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you.
Yay.
That's great. That's wonderful. Hey, Larry, you should just, while we're waiting for everybody, we're waiting for you to write in the chat, hoping people are working on that. Great. Okay, good. Okay, still hoping people will write in the chat. Just what do you want to do on communications? It doesn't have to be tomorrow, but maybe like in the next week, what would you like to do? Maybe that's holding people back.
And maybe for the folks that are on the phone, if you just want to let us know if you're not able to put into the chat, then we could capture that as well.
Yeah, you can talk.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Who wants to verbally?
Kate, you're working on a newsletter. What do you want? Oh, you got it. There you go. Oh, nice.
I wasn't typing quite fast enough.
And Jay Chapin, who's Jay Chapin? Can you let us know you're there?
Yeah, hi. This is Jennifer Henn from Napa, and Jessica Chapin is one of our team members, and we have a few other people in the room as well.
Oh, excellent. Oh, so you have a whole group, but you don't have a camera?
We do not. None of our conference rooms have web cameras.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. But you...
Are you able to use the chat, Jennifer? Hi, it's Sue.
Yeah, I think I can.
Okay. So the question is just name one thing you want to do better with your network communications tomorrow, or it doesn't have to be tomorrow. Could be soon.
Okay, we'll use the chat.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else who's on the phone who wants to share what you'd like to?
Create a listserv.
You can talk.
That's good.
Great. This is excellent. Okay. Bill, you're going to have to move them on if you want us to move here.
Well, Sue, do you want to go ahead and...
Well, I can't, since I made you the host, I don't have...
No, I know, but are you ready to do introduction?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. Let's
okay, great. So welcome everybody. That was just kind of a warm up. So, be ready for lots of interaction today. And so this discussion is titled Strategies to Support Networks, Effective Communications Ecosystems. So we've had one discussion with June and Bill just regarding the theories and practices around networks and network weaving. And based on the conversation and just different things that we've heard, we're actually doing 2 more. This is the second, and then we will have a third to build on the beginning information that we heard around networks. This one is specifically focused on strategies around how you communicate with, to, around, between, all kinds of in your networks. And so I'm very excited to have June and Bill here today with us. And this is June, and June is the founder of the Network Weaver Consultants Network, and she's pretty prolific and has graciously offered lots of materials that we have available. They're mostly on Google Drives. She uses a platform called Scoop It that I think she might be showing today, and I'm very excited. And then Bill, I actually stumbled across Bill, and I'm very glad that I did so, at a conference, the National Network of Public Health Institutes, giving a presentation on networks, and I was quite taken aback by it and thought, I got to have this guy speak to you all. And so he is fairly new, out on his own. He was with a foundation, and so now he has the Center for Nonprofit Leadership and Principal with the Strategy Group. So take it away.
Thank you. Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's great to be with you. Very excited to continue the conversation that we've begun around networks. Today, our focus is going to be really honing in on strategies that are going to help your networks, communications, we hope, dramatically improve. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about why network communication and network support is so important. And then we're going to learn about and try out some new communication platforms and tool possibilities. And then we'll actually try out one of those tools using a online survey around your communications. And then we're going to spend some time really digging into all these different tools, and then go into a breakout room, just again to demonstrate how to do it using this platform, Zoom, and give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about what you learned from the survey that you took. And then we're going to sort of, as we near the end, we're going to have a peer assist. Sue Kincaid has graciously agreed to participate in a peer assist where we are going to model this approach if you've never used it before. And we're going to allow her to pose a challenge that she's having to the group and have an opportunity to hear feedback and suggestions and hopefully benefit not only from your advice and suggestions, but also to have an opportunity to hear your thoughts about the communications work that she's doing. So that's our plan for an hour, less than an hour and a half. Hopefully we'll get through all of it. So what we want to do now is turn and I guess explore just quickly some of the distinctions between organizations and networks. You're all familiar with this sort of hierarchical chart, org chart. And organizations have established roles and clear ways to assign work and ways to obtain and allocate resources. They have clear self-contained structure, but they're not really good often at really solving complex social problems. The kind of problems that you often have to deal with as community coalitions and networks. They're too slow. They often have a specialized or very narrow perspective. And we're all familiar with this. And they do differ from networks. Now, when you look at a network, what you see are sets of organizations and individuals. There's often not clear roles for figuring out action. They gain tremendous benefit for solving complex problems because they're different and more loose and flexible, so that they can act in very innovative and transformative ways. But the questions often come up in a network about who's in charge and how do I know what to do, and how can we work as a network of peers when there's no real leader. And so they are complex entities. Networks can only work well, though, if you have a strong support system so that action happens and is effective. And so the focus today is really around those support systems. So if this picture really is illustrative, I think. If you think of a support system like a garden, the kind of system networks need is like the fertile soil that encourages a lot more growth by providing all the nutrients needed. Networks are exactly the same way. Those support systems are really there to encourage and advance the work by providing all the supports needed so that people don't have to struggle with tracking progress and building agendas and doing all the kinds of stuff that if you've got a strong support system that can be done for you and with you. So when we think about this network support system, the question often comes up, well, we talk with lots of emerging networks and they'll often say, so what kind of supports are needed in a network? What do we have to have in place in order for us to be effective? And as I mentioned earlier, networks really are quite complex things. They require attention and intentionality and support and protection for them to be birthed and sustained and successful. So some of the key supports that we're going to talk about are on this slide. If you're interested in learning any more, more about any of these, you can set up a time to talk with us, to have a one-on-one coaching session, and we can talk about how you could apply one or more of these in your network. Each topic on this slide has a link to more resources. The communications topic would link to this PowerPoint, so no link is provided. Sue will send this PowerPoint out though, and so once you have it, then you can click those links and access new resources. The book that I've highlighted on this page is called Reinventing Organizations, A Guide to Creating Organizations Inspired by the Next Stage of Human Consciousness. This is a book by Frederick Laloux, and he examines the ways of decentralized operations within organizations. And as you read it, you will end up seeing how there's huge relevance for the way networks operate. And we encourage you to take a look at the ideas in this book if you can.
I just want to point out, I would buy the one that says Reinventing Organizations Illustrated, because it's mostly pictures and it's a lot easier to and I usually start, if you want the stuff that's really good for the networks, the teal organization stuff, it's in the second half of the book. So you can skip the first half if you just giving some pointers here. But it's fabulous. I mean, it will help you see there are really exciting new ways that networks can work. They call them circles, so that the operation of a network can be self-organized, just like a lot of your work is being self-organized in collaborative projects.
So we have all kinds of information on networks, and while we're not going to spend a lot of time on specifically talking about network today, we're going to talk more about communications within networks. June is happy to send a free copy of her Network Weaver Handbook to anyone that emails me or June after this webinar. It's a how-to guide.
You can put it in the chat. Just give me your address, and I'll mail you a copy.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you don't like to read, it weighs 2.5 pounds, so it's great for weightlifting. But it's got everything in it.
Yeah, it's a great how-to guide around networks. It has a huge amount of tools and practices and processes to help you transform your coalitions and collaboratives into social change networks. June covers decision-making, network leadership, mapping, systems thinking in the handbook. It's a really phenomenal resource for anybody that's interested in this. A couple of things on this slide. Networks are largely decentralized, and this is an intentional value of networks, and it influences decision-making and expressions and actions of network leaders that are consistent with decentralized operations. So, as you know, leaders must be developed. They have to be, especially if you're in a network, they have to sort of be unhinged from their traditional models of leading when they're in a hierarchical organizational system. That's most comfortable for most of us, but it can damage networks, and it can really end up creating real challenges with being effective in a network setting where, we're all peers working side by side. The other thing that I'll say is that we have an entry there around mapping the network. And we talked about this the last time. I'll just re-emphasize the importance of seeing the connections or the lack of connection across many organizations in different systems. It's a profoundly useful way to see where there are gaps and explain why actions or inaction is happening, and be able to identify groups of like-minded individuals who share a passion for solving a problem. Mapping allows you to better understand the many systems that are interacting or not around an issue or goal. And then we talk, we'll talk a little bit about opportunities for action, creating action-oriented groups, sometimes called circles or innovation centers or work groups. It's essential to networks. It's where the real action happens. Typically, these groups focus on small or shorter-term projects, but some can last for years, evolving to address a different challenge related to a larger issue. Most often, these groups have significant autonomy and authority to focus and make decisions. That doesn't mean they operate in isolation. It does mean, however, that they vet their ideas, they're gathering feedback, they're weighing options to see which is most effective. The group makes often the final decision. Networks need to consider these approaches as the network evolves, because with autonomy and decision-making authority and limited bureaucracy, innovation can really emerge. And so to support this kind of work, we've provided a link there on that site to a wonderful toolkit to get self-organizing started in your own coalition. So once you get the PowerPoint, if you click on the link for opportunities for action, you'll get a whole toolkit or slide deck. And then the last thing I'll point out on this slide is around reflection and action. So when you're dealing with complex problems, networks are one of the only approaches that can really bring enough diverse perspective and resources to those complex problems, incorporating intentional activities to reflect on their current work, make cognitive connections to past experience of many different people, and to create a shared learning environment. The knowledge network really expands dramatically. And so supporting that and making sure that happens is really essential. So if you're interested in learning more about any of these supports, you can contact June or I, and for sure come back to the PowerPoint when you get it and download the resources via the links that we have provided on that page.
Okay, so I'm going to talk now about effective communications for networks. Next slide. So in the last session, it was about broadcast kind of communication, the kind of communication that you need to send out to your network, to your supporters, to keep them informed about what's going on. And that's a really important function and practice to do in your networks. Next slide. However, we're going to take the next step. So once you've got some good broadcast things happening, people know who you are, the next step is to really move into network communications. And that means two-way communications. Because what's the advantage of networks? It's because people know each other. They start thinking of ways they can work together, and they bring their differing perspectives together to get really innovative breakthrough solutions. And so you've got to have ways for people to, build those relationships, get to know each other, and communicate for you to really get the full value of networks. Next slide. So what you're trying to do is, it's not really so much a from and a to. I mean, you will be keeping some of the traditional kinds of communication, broadcast and such, but you also want to make sure that you have lots of places where people can interact and discuss, where lots of people can contribute information, where people can, instead of reading a book to learn something, they can build relationships with other communities to learn new ways of doing things. I think that you can see here in this chart, we don't have to belabor, but you're trying to add on this whole new level of capacity that's all about getting people to interact. Next slide. So there's really four strategies, and we'll be going over these in the chart, the ecosystem chart, which I hope you were all able to print out, but if not, but I think it'll just help you follow along. So there's sharing and discussing information. Then there's helping to build relationships, because if you don't know and trust people, you're not going to take as bigger risks. And if you're not taking risks, you're probably not going to do as important and impactful kinds of projects. Once you do start working with someone, you need new kinds of communication so that everybody knows what's going on. You need a way to keep getting new ideas fed into your system, because believe me, somebody else has figured out the perfect solution, if adapted, to what you're doing. And if you spend time going out and finding new ideas, that can save you a lot of time. And then this whole idea of tracking and learning, because the thing about networks, you're trying to do experiments. You don't know what's going to really work. And really, we keep pretending we know how, our funders make us pretend we know how to solve a problem. But in fact, we usually don't. And so this idea of experimenting needs then discussion for people to reflect and learn on what they've done so they can take a better next step. Next slide. Okay, so I think we're gonna, lots of people are having communications groups or communications circles, and this is, a set of people, but instead of being like a committee, it spends most of its time actually identifying things that need to happen and pulling together groups around it. Like this is the Resonance Network that kind of came out of the movement to end violence against women and girls, a fabulous network model. But it, it brought together a couple people, and they set up 3 different virtual sessions. So dozens of people came to figure out what their name was going to be and what their brand, what they wanted to represent. But now that's over. And so that group doesn't need to meet anymore. So people were willing to volunteer for one call or a couple meetings, and where they wouldn't be willing to be on a communications committee. So here's some other ones. They had interactive website that's been going a little bit longer, and got lots of different people. And then there's a group trying to figure out how they can teach everybody how to use Slack and Trello and G Suite. So that's an example. And I think Kincaid was gonna talk a little bit about her experience. It may not be exactly the same as this, that's fine, about getting a communications group. Sue, do you want to tell us what you've done and what your experience has been?
Yeah, we don't have a communications committee per se. We work with our steering committee and maybe some of the champions who are interested in working on communications. I kind of will connect with on one-on-one.
Okay, so you've been doing a little bit more ad hoc.
Right now, I'll talk more about it when I talk about what we've been doing, but I can say more now if you'd like.
Oh, well, we can wait, and it's fine. We can wait and just talk when we do the peer assist. I think that makes sense. Okay, so next slide. But just the point is that when, having very small, short-term kinds of circles that work on communications issues is a good way to get more and more people involved, and they don't have to make such a big commitment. Okay, so this diagram here is just to help people realize, okay, when you're thinking about broadcast, it's a lot easier, and you can, am I going to use an e-newsletter or an email, to get the message out to people. But when you start thinking a two-way, it gets a little bit more complex, and there's lots of things that people need to interact and engage together with. And so I divided it up in this chart and giving examples, and we're going to go over some of these you may know, And but I'm going to just quickly go over a whole bunch, and hopefully you get some new ideas for some new things to do. And if you want to take notes on these, and again, like, we can have a coaching session with you to dig into some of these and help you think about what might be most appropriate. But you want to get a set of these, and some groups maybe have 5 of these that they're using. Maybe some of them have all of them, that they're the tools and platforms that they're using. Okay, so next slide. And so I also located in here a very simple, a blank one, so that you could print out copies and use that with your steering group or communications group. And also, if you'll see on the left, there's planning chart link. And so we have a chart that if we had more time, we could do today, but it's a very simple chart that just helps you think about how to prioritize. Because there's lots of stuff you can do. What's the most important for you to start with? And so you'll be able to access that chart and remember, when you access these, you can make a copy and save them to your own Google Drive if you use that, or make a copy and just print out some copies. Next slide. Oh, okay. I think Bill's taking over here.
Nope, that's still you.
It's still mine. Okay. Okay, so let's talk first about sharing and discussing. So next slide. Yeah, because I've done some really interesting and very successful things in this area. So for sharing and discussing, you can use group email, you can use Facebook group, or things like Slack. And I'd love to hear in the chat what you're using for people to share ideas and discuss. But I'll tell you, I have started a network weaving Facebook group, and you're welcome to join. There's a link down here, or you can just look up network weaving. It's got 1,600 people, and it's only, a year and a half or so old. But what I did was I started out and tried to get all my friends to come. And then it got a little slow. So I picked out kind of 6 go-getters who really wanted to learn network weaving. And I had them all on the call and said, hey, would you be willing to post 1 or 2 items every week, either a question or share some information on this? And they did this faithfully. And so with that, there's something about dynamics. There's something about when there's lots of action, people tend to act. And you can see it's not too much, not too many posts, but it's just a really nice amount, and people know that they can ask questions and they will get really high quality answers back in most cases. So really, if you have a Facebook group, or even if you have an email, as we'll talk about a little later, think about who are kind of these really friendly people, people who like to give and share, and get them to work for you. You don't need to do this work, and they will love it, and they will, feel like they are learning how to be really good network weavers. Next slide.
June, can I just ask a quick question on the Facebook?
Yeah.
And maybe even in the Scoop It, with doing that, was there a lot of interaction, or is it just posts and, which is great, but.
Oh, well, so I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, there was some interaction. You can just go in and look at it. Sometimes it's just answering questions, but sometimes it gets into a discussion. And I would say that once every couple months, people say, I really want to talk with other people about that. And either I or somebody else says, okay, we'll set up a pop-up. And so then we just set up a session, and the next week we just pick a time. And then, maybe 3 people or 10 people come to a pop-up on that particular topic and learn a little bit more. So that's been real successful. At different times that we've had, it's moved into kind of a more intentional learning setting there. Okay, so another way that I'm just getting started, hopefully in the next week or so, is their network weavers have a WordPress site, and we have a blog in there that numbers of people have committed that they're going to put blog posts in there. And then we have a MailChimp e-newsletter that's going out. Now, usually that's broadcast, but what we're doing is we're urging people down at the bottom of each blog post, please click here, get on the blog, and put your comments, put your thoughts about this. And so the idea then, we're going to end, I will prime the pump with, again, these 3 to 6 volunteers who will go ahead and model the comments for people so that they will, begin to follow. And modeling is the most powerful kind of way to get some of this communication going. And just if you have questions, please ask them. Or if you would be willing to share, if you've done, successful kind of Facebook pages or any other kind of interactivity, or even had problems, please do just put it in the chat, because then we can learn from each other and help each other. Okay, next slide. So anybody have discussion platforms that you like? Has anybody used Slack here? I'm just starting to use it in most of the projects that I'm working on. Anybody using any other? You have
I've used Slack. I've used Slack. I've used Trello. I like Trello. And, we use Google Docs a lot, which is different, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about that next.
Yeah. But those are the two that I think that I've used. I like them. So.
Great. And if you want to learn anybody here want to learn how to use Slack, I think the Network Weavers group is going to have some opportunities to learn Slack and use it for network questions that you have. Mm-hmm. But feel free. We need some people in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to learn about Slack? Okay, great. And anybody else? Or if you have platforms that you like, I'd love to hear.
Well, in Flock, I don't know if you guys have used Flock. That's another one.
I've heard about that. Yes.
Yeah, and it's pretty good. Like, it's the same kind of thing in terms of channels of communication, so that works. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
No, I mean, the thing is, what I usually do, so isn't there always new stuff coming up, and you just feel overwhelmed, right? So, but what I do is that I get a little group together and that wants to learn and experiment on something, and then I try to find a project that I can try it on, and sometimes I don't like them, or I use them for a little while, or sometimes they really add to the repertoire. So just thinking about how can you see, this is the idea, they call this personal knowledge networks now, and you need to know how to find people who can real quickly you can learn with, that's very efficient, and how to be on places like you can all join that Network Weavers Facebook group, and you can say, I want to learn Slack. Will you join me? And just any new thing that comes along, you can find people to help you. Okay, now I think it's Bill's turn.
Yeah, we're just going to do a really quick look at one tool that will help you generate new ideas. One of the things that we want to note is that networks are really very dynamic systems where there's lots of great opportunity, both face-to-face and through all these tools that we're talking about, to generate new ideas. And new ideas are really the lifeblood of networks. It's where people's passions emerge, and where we as a community really gain our energy and our opportunity to make a difference. So being able to innovate and bring new ideas into the network is a really important function of a network. And so one of the tools that June has had quite a bit of experience with, I'll let her talk a little bit about it here, is called Scoop It. June?
Okay, so Scoop It is a fabulous site, and you can have, I believe, 2 different topics for free. or it's a small annual fee or monthly fee. But what it does is every time, you know, in my email, I subscribe to all kinds of listservs, and then I'm shooting around the web almost every day, and I see something interesting. What I do is there's a little button on my browser, and I click Scoop It, and it puts it into one of these 5 topics I have: self-organizing and complexity, networks and network weaving, economic, social, and kind of government networks, network leadership, and about learning. And so I put them in these different topics, and then it automatically sends them out to my Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Twitter's probably, you know, the best. And so what I do is I'm gathering new ideas for you. So, you know, I'm part of your network. I'm part of your periphery now. And all you have to do is, if you follow me on Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn, or you can go to here's the Scoop It link right there, and you go there. You can just it's just like their little pictures with the articles, and you can pick the ones that look interesting, and you can get great ideas for, you know, your work. And something that you as a network might do is just now everybody's not crazy like me and wanting to, you know, so hungry for learning and stuff, but I am. And so you need to find people in your network that really love to learn and read new stuff all the time, and get them to set up a Scoop It on topics for your network, you know, different aspects of health, or whatever you're working on, and gather articles on it, and then find a way to share it out to other people. But it is really, I mean, it is a very, very powerful way. I get so many fabulous ideas from this Scoop It stuff that, and other people tell me that they like it too. So, you know, you can follow me, or find one of these other ways that you can access this information too. Now, my stuff's about networks. There's occasionally something about health in my economic and social networks piece. But if you want to know more about networks, you'll be able to find fabulous articles in here. Okay.
June, there's a question here from Kate. Can multiple people add to one Scoop It location?
Yeah, I maybe if you give out your password, and, you know, your email and password, you know, I mean, this is not a high risk place to share. You know, I think maybe you could do it. It'd be worth trying it. But yeah, I don't understand why a lot of these platforms aren't more collaborative. Because wouldn't that be a great...
This is, you just post on there, right, June? And then people can respond, like make comments.
They can. Now, I haven't really developed that, but it's something that I'm going to do, because it does have a place for you to comment.
It's very cool. I've been on your site. I think you'd like it, Kate. I mean, and also just from an ACH perspective, it seems like, you know, once you guys really hone in on whatever your focus area is, finding relevant articles, you know, and case studies or whatever from other places, I think it could be kind of a really valuable spot.
So theoretically, could you create one of these for your organization and then have that be the host, so most people could contribute? It wouldn't be to your personal accounts. So if I were to have one for, like, ours is Hope Rising, that Facebook, it would link to that page, so we could have different coalition members all contribute.
I think so.
Do you think, would it work that way?
I think this is a perfect pop-up for a couple of you to get together and
try it out.
And experiment and try it out. And I'd be glad to be part of it. So you can invite me and just say, hey, next, you know, a week from tomorrow, we're going to have a little group of us are going to get together on Zoom and try to figure this out. Because I'm not kidding you.
You can do it, yeah.
It's so, like, I go back, like when want to do some new slides on self-organizing, I go back and just go through the articles and say, ooh, and I just read a couple of them, and then it just gets my mind really going.
It's kind of a vortex a bit, because I've been on your site and I'm like an hour later, I like it, you know.
Yeah. But see, part of what the new way of working in the 21st century is that you got to make sure your boss or your network or whatever, they understand that learning new stuff is a key, one of the most important parts of your job, and that to stay ahead and keep getting funding and all that, you got to be you know, in the
Yeah.
and learning. So enough of that. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm crazy about Scoop It. So
I was thinking about using it in a similar way that Kate mentioned, because we have 6 different work groups. And when I'm information and I'm on the web, I see, oh, this will apply for this work group, or this would apply for that work group. So I could put it in those categories and they could go in and pull from it.
right, you could put RFPs that you come across in there, and then send it
that's
out.
nice. Yeah.
You have to have a place that you're going to send it out, and there are quite a few options. I just used the 3 I mentioned.
Okay,
Great. Okay, next.
Okay. Wow. Nice.
Okay, we're going to turn to some tools that we found to be particularly helpful around strengthening relationships and collaborative work. There actually is quite a bit out there around this, and so we're going to go through a number of different tools. You will have access to every one of these when you get the PowerPoint. So one of the first tools we want to look at is called clustering. This is a process by which we're able to identify and group together individuals and organizations for collaborative work and collaborative learning, whether it's in small work groups or innovation centers or pop-ups, wherever people have a shared interest. So at the earliest stages of a network's formation, if you use clustering, it really gives you a clear sense of who's around the table and what they're most interested in working on. But then throughout the sort of lifespan of a network, you can use this approach to identify all kinds of evolving interests and needs within the group and position people together without the sort of standard raise your hand to indicate your interest, which is sort of passé anymore.
And that really powerful question is, how willing would you be to convene a group on this? And if anybody says very willing, hey, you don't need to do it. You can support them, but you're building new leadership. You're getting somebody else who's willing to convene a little Zoom session on something.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pretty flexible approach to all kinds of work within a network. The next is a tool you may be familiar with called Doodle. And so, you know, if you've ever had to deal with meetings and trying to get folks around the table or even virtually around the table, when you're dealing with dozens of individuals or organizations, it's virtually impossible to find days and times that work in everyone's calendar. And so if you're the admin trying to schedule via email, it's a nightmare. And you just ask somebody who does this work day in and day out. Doodle is a tool that makes it super easy to find the day and time that work for most folks, whether it's a teleconference, video conference, or in person. So if you haven't used it, you should test it out. It's free. I think if you add more participants, you may have to pay a little bit more, but in the beginning, it's all free. Another issue that we want to sort of look at is whether there's other tools that you have used that are particularly helpful for sort of the logistics part of getting people together to build relationships or work together. And so in the chat, if you could just indicate, if you've used any of those, how many have used either Doodle or the clustering approach, just indicate so.
And you might, like on the Doodle, I pushed it a little bit and say, do most of the participants in your network know how to use Doodle? So you're not the one always setting up the meetings, but other people know how to. So often we forget that small investment of teaching somebody else how to use Doodle can take work off our platters. So, and it does seem like a couple people are using Google surveys. It's called Google Forms if you haven't used them before. Has anybody done Google surveys? Okay.
All right. So let's look at some tools for collaborative work that really facilitate collaborative work. I mean, obviously we're on one of those right now, and that's Zoom. And Zoom is free for the first 40 minutes, 40-minute calls. After that, you'll end up paying, but it's still, if your team or your a network is spread out across a pretty large area, it's essential. The ability to meet via video conferencing, maybe I would argue one of the most important tools that you can put in place. It's just too inefficient to meet in person every time you need to have a discussion or to make a decision. And I think the real challenge then is if you're doing it all via phone or you're doing it via email, those tools don't build relationships. And the real question is how can we collaborate in a way that builds relationships with people that we're working with but rarely see face to face? And video conferencing is probably that solution. My team has used Adobe Connect. We've used GoToMeeting. We've used Zoom. We've used a couple other platforms. And from our experience, Zoom has the least issues with bandwidth. It's surprisingly affordable, and it's relatively dependable. So we know you've been using it in this work for the CACHI work. It's a great tool when your team is spread across the state or states. Okay, so we are going to look at some templates that we have created. We have a set of 5 templates that you can use. These are all collaborative tools that your teams can use. And you can click the link in this PowerPoint when you get it and download these tools to your desktop or a shared drive. It's a little set of documents specifically designed to support collaborative work. You might give these to your work groups or other collaborative works to support their work in terms of creating agendas, tracking group work, doing surveys, budgeting, and progress tracking. That link will take you to those kinds of tools. Here's a simple example of a document that asks network members to quickly enter their in a simple way, their contact information so people can stay in touch. If you just take a minute to click the link in the chat box, you can try this out. June, are you going to put that link in there?
I think maybe we're not going to have time to do that.
Okay. Okay.
But it's a great way that everybody knows how they can get somebody's email. And the interest one has proven really, when people put their interest in, people can go here and say, oh, so-and-so is also interested in the same kind of thing. And that encourages people. So I think we need to go on, but really a very fun tool.
So here is a template for creating meeting agendas for your work groups. And one of the nice things about this is that if you use this document, every time you use it, you just keep the agenda from the previous one in it. And the latest agenda is sitting on top. And so you have literally a document that has all the agendas every time a group has met. So you can access that through this link.
And it also helps you be more engaging because one person might do a draft agenda, but then send the link out and say, hey, I put some stuff out, but you add, what items would you like to see on the agenda? And so then people, again, it's building leadership and a sense of responsibility for the network.
So Bill and June, for the CACHI facilitator calls, like the lead, I think we use this, and I think it's up to like 44 pages now. So it's like good. And, a lot of people, oftentimes I'll go in and I'll see people in there reading the information. Yeah. Maybe they missed a call or that. So I think it works. I mean, so yeah.
Okay, cool. Here's a template for creating this next one for creating a document to track the work within collaborative projects. The coordinator can send the link out, and the group can make entries and track their progress for subgroups and check on sort of what they need to be doing. So this is a good way to remind folks of their action items and remind them on when things are due. And again, just another nice way of keeping everybody on track.
Like, I love things like Trello or Basecamp, but you cannot get network participants in network work groups to, you know, learn that much new and go through all the bells and whistles. This is so simple, and it's highly, highly effective. It's all you have to do is send out a link. You don't have to really scold people or whatever. You know, here's a link, check and see what you said you do. So it's just elegant, simple, and really works.
Here's a tool called Lumio. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this. This is a decision-making tool. There's a cost to use this tool. It's about $39. But for nonprofits, there's a special rate of $29 a month for up to 100 people, and integrates with Slack. It's free for one project or a group. And it's a particularly helpful tool to give folks a process by which they can make decisions without having to be physically present in a meeting to do so. So we have a demo here, but we're running short on time, so I'm not going to run the demo. You know, if you have time, you should get online to run that demo. It's really
super short, super fun.
Super
really
fun. Yeah.
Helps you learn how to use it.
Right. And you should check it out, even if you are not even quite sure. Check it out anyway. The demo's fabulous, and it really is an efficient way to get at some decisions that you have to make and a process to do that. So we strongly encourage Lumio. Okay. So the question that I'll ask now is, you know, are there any of these tools that you're already using? And are there any that you'd really like to try out?
There's a plea for us to do the Lumio thing.
Oh,
and
really?
So, Bill, if you're thinking of maybe
I think it would be good, because this is a lot of the work that they're doing, is this trying to get decisions. So thanks, Jennifer. I know while you're pulling that up.
I can't hear that. It's not, the sound isn't working, Bill.
Oh.
Can you make the sound louder? See, I think there is something weird about doing video.
Oh, when you're doing the.
Yeah, I've got the sound all the way up.
We can't hear it. Anybody else?
Is it on?
Yeah, there's sound.
Oh.
I have the sound all the way up.
Yeah, I think there's a special thing you have to do in videos.
But it's not going, is it? Is it going?
It's stopped now. I stopped it.
Oh.
I mean,
but turn it on.
Yeah.
But you can, they don't even need the sound. You can see.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep running it for a little bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes at the bottom of the video, there's also a speaker you have to click to turn it on.
Yeah, he did that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think it's a thing, and we'll research it because we should know this. But okay, so anyway, you have a discussion over here, and you have different symbols that you can keep saying whether you agree or whether you disagree. And here people are disagreeing, and then they're coming up with a much better proposal.
You know, Jennifer, this would be, I don't know if this would work, but what was coming up for me is like the whole Live Stories website, right? The data visualization. And, you know, something like this might be kind of interesting.
You can do one free demo project, and they are very accessible. You can just, I mean, some of them are in New Zealand, quite a few of them, that's where the company's from, but there are people in the US, and they are very accessible. They've taken me through it and such, and it's a you know, really valuable kind of tool. Okay, maybe that's enough.
I'll add too, just because I'm a Zoom user, quite often with some of these platforms, the customer service people are really helpful.
They are, yeah.
If you
they
make
are.
a list of like exactly what you want to do, and it can be a 10-minute call, and suddenly you're like almost pro level in the way of operating it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I can't even believe what I do on Zoom now. And I spent 15 minutes with the guy, and now I can
Yes,
do
exactly.
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it's true. And even again with Lumio, if a couple of you are interested, this would be a perfect pop-up topic.
Yeah, I
And
think
you
so.
can
I think
mention-
that would.
and I think Bill and I are willing to do some pop-ups with you that are like off the record, kind of speak. So if you really want to learn one of these things, you know, we can set up a little call, a little
Yeah.
Zoom session.
I think the Lumio, I think that would be really helpful. It seems like, but anyway, okay.
I was going to add to, if you guys end up doing that, do it on Zoom, and then you can record it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But tell us in the chat if you'd like to learn Lumio. It would be really great. If you'd like to learn Lumio, let us know, and we'll see if there's enough people. Okay, we're going to talk real quick about tracking and learning, and then Bill is going to think about which of the activities we're going to cut, because we have. Okay, so track and learn. Next slide, Bill.
Yep.
Okay, one of the big advantages of networks is that you can learn. You can learn so much, and it can make your work so much better. But it's so hard. We're so goal-oriented that it's really hard for us to stop and take time to really learn and reflect. Next one. And Google Forms, though, makes it really easy to learn. Last time, remember how we had that survey, those of you that were here, on values. And you were able to see your values right away, instantly. And so there's this thing about learning is like getting data back, but reflecting on it, talking about it, analyzing, and making some decisions to do something differently. That is the key. I mean, data is nothing without learning. And so how you can use things like surveys to give people data right during a Zoom call, right during a meeting. I've done this in rooms with 180 people, and you know, they get the data right then, and then they start talking about changing. So next slide. And the big piece of how these learning pop-ups, one-time things, or community of practice where you have people maybe in a certain role or interested in learning network stuff or whatever, meeting for several months. Simple, and it's so valuable. And you know, I said, what topic might you have a learning pop-up with? Well, let's try to have at least one learning pop-up on one of these smaller topics, and it might be we meet for 45 minutes, but your capacity to like send out little surveys, find out what people are interested in, doing a pop-up or two, it will increase the skill level and the knowledge level in your network just amazingly. Okay, next.
So June, I think what we ought to do is skip the survey.
Oh, okay.
In part because, you know, Sue has so graciously agreed to do
Yeah, okay. So go to the next slide and let's talk about the survey.
Yeah.
We have both a short version we were going to give you and a longer version, and we've got the links here. We don't have the link for the short one, so go to the next one. But we have links, and you can take and make a copy of these surveys. They are, just go to the next one. They are something that you can use, and you can edit them. They don't have to be done the way we did it. And this will help you. This will help you assess all these kinds of things we've been talking about how interactive and how two-way your communication is. Great tool to get to your network, your steering committee, and you can find out how well you're doing, where your strengths are. And again, you'll get the results right away. So have everybody even take it on their smartphones. You can send the link in an email on a smartphone, have them take it, and then they see the results instantly. And then you can say, oh, you know what? We're really not doing too well in this and this. Let's develop a strategy to shift that. Okay?
Yep. All right. So we've got about 25 minutes left. We wanted to have an opportunity to, again, model breakout groups using Zoom and have an opportunity for you to talk a little bit about what you've already seen here today. And so June is going to put a link in the chat, and I'm going to put you all into breakout rooms. There's only a few of us on this call, so I think June probably go into 2 groups. It would put 3 participants in each room.
Okay, but I hate to admit that I made a mistake, but I don't have that link, Bill.
Oh, I can put the link in.
Okay, great. Thank you. See, that's why it's so great to work collaboratively. You don't have to be perfect anymore.
So don't click this link yet. I'm putting it in.
Make sure you're doing it to everyone.
I did.
It doesn't.
Don't.
So the idea, let me just, while he's figuring that out, is the idea, we want you all to click on this link. It's going to open up a Google Doc where you can take notes. Now, when you get into your group, get one volunteer to take the notes. The rest of you won't have to, you can follow along and you can take notes with them if you want, but we need at least one person taking notes. And then we're going to have 2 groups. So you'll see group 1. I think it says it up at the top of your Zoom. And then group 2 will scroll down to the next page and take their notes. And of course, you're not going to have to be able to do, what did I learn from the survey, but just what did you learn from today?
Yeah.
Communication in your network, and how could you use a survey in your network? And what do you think the highest priorities of all the things we talked about today? And we'll give you, now it's going to be a little rough. You're going to have to really, because some people are invisible. And so you're going to have to really pull those folks out and do go rounds. Make sure everybody gets a chance to talk. Don't ignore those people just because their face isn't there.
Right.
In some cases, there's like 4 people there. So remember that. Okay.
All right, so you're going to be randomly assigned to one of the groups. A link will appear on your screen to join your group. Click it. There's make a note of the group you're in. Next, click on the notes link in the chat box. And when the notes link page appears, it opens, find the page that corresponds to your group, either 1 or 2. Designate a note taker. And then discuss as a group and have the note taker scribe what you discuss around the questions you get to. You'll receive a warning when there's 1 minute left in your group. Tie up the conversation and return to the whole group when done. And then you'll report back in the chat box when we get there.
Okay, so make sure you click that link before you agree to go into a breakout room.
June, how do we set the time that folks are in the room?
No, we'll you just have an option there with your breakout group to end the session, and it'll give them a 1 minute warning.
Okay, are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
Breakout rooms are super easy. Let's see how they work for you. Okay, a git check. Who's that? I forget who that is. And Sue Kincaid, you're on mute. You're on mute, Sue.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, this is Kate.
Oh, Kate, can you click on your breakout room? Okay, Sue, how about you? You should have a little window that comes up that says host is inviting you to join breakout room.
Yeah, and I was there.
Okay. Good. Well, that's good.
There we go.
Okay, everybody's there. Good.
Everybody's there.
Yeah, good. It's just, see how hard it is. Like, did you have your thing? And also looking, did you see my private message?
Which one? About dropping something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay, okay. I just didn't know if you did.
Yeah.
But it's just like, yeah, time is just really hard.
Yeah, it goes super fast.
Yeah, yeah. So I just think, checking, and then we have to back and forth, like how to adjust it,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it's going great. I'm lots of good information. Oh, Sue's having problems again.
Well, she's in one of them. One of
Yeah,
hers
but
in.
now it says she came back. See, Sue, are you there? Aw. Sue. Oh, well. So do you see where it says under breakout room? Do you see if you click on breakout room?
Yeah, I'm in it.
Where it says to end breakout room?
It says close all rooms.
Yeah, yeah. So you'll just do that a minute before you want it to end.
Okay, so it's 4:10 right now.
So 5 more minutes, you think?
You want to give them 5 more minutes, then that'll give
Let's
us.
see. Next steps. Okay. Well,
So we got it.
5 more minutes, and then we have just a 10-minute peer assist, and
Yeah.
and then 5 minutes to next steps.
Yep, that's it. That's all we got. Okay.
Sue, are you there? Oh, I don't know if she got lost or what. Maybe it's bouncing her out.
Well, so she's showing up in breakout room 2, and she's showing up under unassigned.
Oh, okay. So,
I think she's in breakout 2.
okay, good. Sometimes I go around and check, but I think that this group's pretty together here.
They're so small, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? We should have, it's recording. We should have paused the recording. Good thing to remember. So go ahead and click pause recording. But one thing that we might want to do is just cut that little piece out. And it would put it back on record again.
I got it back on.
Okay.
There we go.
Are we all back?
Hello. How was it?
It's good.
I mean, I love the breakout rooms. I love them. But it's hard when you can't see everybody's faces. And we're going to work on that.
I'm going to buy everybody cameras.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Because I think
And remind them to bring their chargers.
That's right.
Yeah. That's what I finally got to the point where I bought extras, and I keep them, one in the car, one here and one there, so that I don't, because that happens to me all the time. Okay, is everybody back?
Yep.
Okay, Bill. Oh, there he is. Okay, so just we don't really have much time, but let's just take 1 or 2 insights that you got from your breakout room discussion. And people can write in the chat, that would be great, but I'd love to hear 1 or 2 people say talking about this with other people.
Well, I'll go. I looked at your Scoop It before, like a number of times, June, but I don't know for whatever reason that I'd be like, oh, I could create one of those. So this weekend I'm going to create one I'm going to try, because there's so much stuff for the ACH work that I think I'll kind of play around with that. And it seems like I could put a link on the Catchy website, and people could go from there, and then you could create different topics, and so.
Great.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really good. Okay. Anybody else?
So this is Napa. I think, so we discussed in the breakout group that we're doing pretty well, we feel like, with broadcast communication. Those techniques, but we really could improve in terms of two-way communication with our network. And so we're really excited to try some of the tools. We're really excited about Lumio, But then we also talked a bit about Slack and Zoom and some other ways that we might improve our two-way communication.
Great, super. That's really great. So we better move on because we're going to do a real quick peer assist because, so peer assist, have you done peer assist? You have some, haven't you, Sue?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe a slightly different version, but I'm telling you, they're putting these into meetings that you have. Anytime you have a meeting, we're going to do it in 10 minutes. Usually 15 minutes. I mean, sometimes you have a half an hour. So we're going to ask Sue to, let's see, we're going to have to cut down these times, Sue. So like a minute or two about your challenge, what's your challenge? And then people are allowed to ask you questions if they want, and then they're going to give you advice.
Okay, great.
Go around, and then Sue, we're going to say, what you think of their advice, like what it's making you think. And then if we have time, we'll have a go around with everybody, or at least we'll hear from a couple people what you learned from the peer assist discussion. Okay, Sue, go for it.
Okay, so I think we're kind of like in the same situation as Napa, where we're getting some broadcast messaging out through our e-newsletter and website and Facebook page, consistently and continually refining those. But it's the interaction collaborative work where we have 6 work groups with different strategic issues. And it's like, we're saying we don't want the community to work in silos, but sometimes I feel like our work groups are working in silos.
Oh.
We have our quarterly convenings, our steering committee meetings, and our core team meetings, but by the time you get to the agenda, you don't really have time to talk about what your work groups have accomplished or what you've done, so it's all in our written reports, which nobody reads. And so implementing some sort of interactive or way that engages people across the work groups would be a great solution. I'm just not sure what that solution is or how best to do it. I know that people are busy. Some people do attend more than one work group. There's a few people who do that. Some people are involved in 2 or 3, but not everybody is. And then I'll see connections, and I'll see, like, you guys should work with, but I don't see everything either because I can't go to all 6 work group meetings that meet monthly or every other month. So that's the challenge.
That's great. That's one of the biggest challenges out there for networks. So you get it right there. This is a huge challenge because there's no obvious platforms. But let's hear, are there any questions from the group? What questions do you have for Sue?
Is there any place now, Sue, where you're posting information? So I just wanted to clarify where people can see what's going on.
It might be on the website or Facebook page, but that's more events. Our e-newsletter will put some updates, but not really. Not like the Catchy website is a great example where we could maybe put categories up, but yeah.
You don't have a Facebook group? It's supposed
not
to.
A group, no.
They're different, yeah.
Oh, for each of the pieces.
All of them.
So then just to tag, because I wanted to make sure I was tracking. So then the way people could know about what was happening is if you get to it at a meeting, the groups would share.
Right, and we highlight a work group like at our quarterly convenings, but with 6 work groups, that's going to take over a year to get everybody cycled through. Sometimes we put up big, posters, or, we have little breakouts for people who are interested in getting updates from particular work groups, but that's kind of the extent of it right now.
Okay, any more questions? Let's move on to advice. Who has some advice? Who has some first thoughts about what Sue could do? Maybe let's go around, since this is somewhat of a shy group, and we could get, is Napa, Jay Chapin, that one? Who's Napa?
Yeah.
Okay, oh, look at all those, you must have tons of ideas. So, okay, what thoughts do you have?
I don't know that we have good advice. We had a similar problem to this with our Live Healthy Napa County, where we had 4 areas, 4 what we called component plans, and figuring out how to keep the whole group updated on the work of the subcommittees was really difficult. We did try to implement a very standard short format for reporting out at our meetings. And I've seen approaches like that with like emails, like a 7-sentence report, like keep it really, really short. Ultimately though, we ended up abandoning the idea of having these subcommittees and being just more focused in the work we were doing together. So we weren't really able to make it work.
Mhm. Okay, Kimberly, looks like she wants to say something.
Sure. I'm wondering if there's a way to tie in, instead of calling it reporting, to call it celebrating, and to have, and just so everybody knows, I come up with really wacky things and like try it and see how it works. And to even have like in your group or bigger group meetings a 5 or 10 minute period where like one group says one celebration and then another group like makes a connection to that celebration for the work that they're doing, and to actually popcorn it around the room and be engaged in that way without having to have a formal, like, here's the layout, these are our bullet points. I mean, I understand that's important to also be documenting that, but I think if celebrating can become a kind of a fun sharing, it can bring people together and really allow for energy to build around the work that's happening, and for people to start seeing how things are connected and to drive the greater network.
Great. Anybody else?
Love that.
Mhm. I like that, Kimberly. I think that's nice.
Anyone else?
Well, it does seem like there's kind of what's coming up is like this mixture of a traditional, like maybe it is a scoop it kind of thing, or I know that Humboldt is using Flock, like they have their website and they're posting minutes and different things that are there. So it is maybe more in the broadcast way. I don't know though, what I'm hearing Sue say is more of the interaction, right? Like that's needing to happen. So, having a space, I think, for the minutes is good in that kind of activity, but then somehow using maybe one of these different tools or something to be able to see how's their interaction going between them, because there probably is a lot of missed synergies that could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have another one. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Kimberly. No, go ahead.
I start riffing, like it just starts happening. I was just thinking about this idea of think, pair, share, which is like a teaching strategy.
Yeah.
To be able to like either in Zoom in pairs or in person, to have people from different committees pair with someone that's not in that committee, share one piece and have a conversation about how that piece connects to their bigger why for being involved in the ACH, whether it's their personal why or their organizational why. Again, it's about making that connection to like, here's the work that's happening. Like, why do I care? Right? Like, why is this important to me? And to be able to start to build, the network of like how our whys are even connected and how that might serve how we move forward as a network.
That's so great. And I was thinking like you could get in small groups that had, instead of just pairs, but it's small groups that had a couple of different people from a couple of different groups in the small group, and then they would begin to talk, do very brief descriptions, but with the idea somebody could be charting up connections, and then that would be on the wall in a big chart. And that would be, so that's a great idea. I also think Facebook, you could have all the groups on, they take pictures of their meetings. It makes it really fun, and they could put little things, and then that encourages discussion and encourage everybody to ask a question. Okay, we did this. Here's something we need. We need a resource. Okay, so Bill's telling me that we need to wrap up. So I think that was great, but I encourage peer assists like that are a great way to have part of your meeting, and so you might want to try it. Okay, Bill.
So So I'm sorry, we've got 3 minutes left, and we want to be very respectful of everybody's time. So I'm moving us on. Thank you, Sue, for agreeing to participate in the peer assist. Thank you all for your
Yes.
contributions. That was very helpful.
And Sue, you could tell us in the chat, like, is there anything there that you might think about trying? Okay.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sue. So we've included some resources in the PowerPoint that you'll receive. The links will be hot, so you can click on them and it'll take you to resources. And then we want you thinking about what you are going to try in the next few weeks. If you want to explore or learn more about anything you've heard today, a coaching session is available. Please note in the chat that you'd like to have one and let Sue know. We have one session per site, unless a site is not interested, and then we may have more than one per site. But communicate with Sue about that. And then if you need to reach either June or I, here's our contact information. We'd be happy to chat. Email us, phone us, set up a Zoom call. We're happy to be your thought partner in any of this work.
And then if all of you could in the chat, let's just till our time runs out. We got another minute. Who's going to tell us what you're going to do in the next couple weeks?
Yeah.
Want
to know.
So Sue Kincaid's going to try celebrations.
I love it.
And share exercises and explore the tools today. We've got folks looking into Lumio and Scoop It. What else? What else are you going to try?
Try it all.
Let's make sure we get these links out. And lots of people are going to try different things. And we will have a pop-up. And it might be like just a little tools pop-up where we actually get on and just try things, especially Lumio. But we might also just try going to Scoop It, setting up accounts, and putting the button up on our browser.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. This is fabulous. Well, really a fun time with you all. And we are also going to work on the cameras. So next time.
I think I'll buy some cameras because basically, so if anybody's interested, I think what I hear is that you can attach it to a USB and it's like $20. So if anybody's interested, I'll spring for it.
There you go. That's awesome.
Okay, everybody, this was super wonderful.
Thank you.
If this is your last chance to send me your address if you want a free, these things are $50 a piece. And free Network Weaver Handbook, just put your address in the
and June and Bill, it's also, you sent us a link to it too, right? But this one's printed?
No, the link that we sent was probably to the toolkit, which is
okay.
And it's just activities. The handbook is like 2 inches thick, and it has tons of activities. And you can always read it if you're having trouble going to sleep.
And it looks like Kate wants one too. So
great. Okay.
Great. Thanks, you guys.
Okay, well, go ahead. You're allowed to leave now. And
okay.
It's had so much fun. Huh?
Okay. Thanks so much.
Bye, everybody.
The potential of Zoom calls, huh?
Okay.
Oh, what fun! What fun!
Hey, Sue.
Yes.
I'm going to need to edit that video probably before you put it up.
Okay.
Because we forgot to put it on pause when we were talking.
Oh, okay. Great. Yeah, so go ahead and edit it, and